Hello, this is my presentation on my 5 abstracts. So my first abstract was written by Jay Holmes in 2013. So the use of longitudinal data, which means data over time, was used to examine the child poverty and to see the developmental factors of children who were persistently impoverished, meaning that they were consistently impoverished. And it showed that children who were persistently in poverty had more developmental disadvantages than those who were only impoverished for a short amount of time. Um, Developmental disadvantages just mean that they either were not growing at the same rate. Sometimes they were not learning at the same rate. They just did not have the means of, I guess, one who was impoverished but slowly was able to get out of that stench, financial stench in life. Um, so by improving parenting, family structure, and mental health, there was there was noticeably resilience was more noticeable among those children and the capability of being resilient throughout poverty. Next, my next article, well, abstract, is from J. Bradshaw in 2002. So the characteristics of impoverished children are different for those means. The article gives evidence on the well-being of children from a program called ESRC, which stands for Economic and Social Research Council. A discussion on how the Labor government is using their means to end poverty was also included in this abstract. Next, this abstract is written by Schweger G. Schweger in 2019. So vulnerability and ethics were one of the main topics, but two of the main topics in this article. Child vulnerability is something that is very important when discussing child poverty because the child goes through a lot of situations that cause them to put themselves out there and express their hardships at a young age. So this is something that they wanted to discuss further, just to see how the child develops mentally, having to be so vulnerable in the world, especially around those who may not be in the same standing as them. And they also just discussed what vulnerabilities are harmful towards the child as they're developing from poverty. So like not being able to eat or not having access to like clean water or clothes. They were discussed in this article before by M. Bies and more in 2002. So the mental health of impoverished children of immigrant-born parents versus non-immigrant born parents were researched. This data came from Canada because I guess they wanted to include different factors of those who are not accustomed to the country's like cultural backgrounds and how maybe the mental health of those whose family is not from the country is factored. So they collected data from adolescents to see what the effects of poverty were for both immigrant-born and non-immigrant-born parents, and just seeing if there was a difference between each side, and it actually showed that there there was not a huge difference in the mental health of children of immigrant immigrant born parents, but they're nonetheless they both have mental factors. And the last um, abstract, it just talks about by well first it was by McCarthy A in 2016. It was this weighed in on the United States and their child poverty crisis. They just measured how different groups and different demographics handled child poverty and what influence the consequences of influences, such as lack of resources, like different cultural values, as stated in abstract 4, how that can affect a child, how if there is an immigrant um, family, how it might be different because they're coming from a different country, and the stress factors of being impoverished. So yes, thank you. Oh my gosh.